So I've made my video ranking the best adapted screenplay Oscar wins of the 2010s. Now it's time to talk original screenplay. Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. I'm very excited to talk to you today about the best original screenplay Oscar wins of the 2010s. How would I rank these? What do I think were really great? And what do I think were kind of awful? Let's start with number 10, Green Book.
Any cook can make things salty. To make it taste good without the salt, we'll just add the flavors. That's the trick. I mean, take the basic ingredients.
We should really get going soon if we expect to get to Pittsburgh by dinner.
So I still remember when Green Book won Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars, and I went, uh-oh, I think that's winning picture. I remember on the night I was leaning toward Green Book. I thought, kind of like The King's Speech, which I'll get to in a minute, it was going to be the consensus choice of 2018, like the one movie most people liked. You know, some people loved it, some people were mixed on it, not too many people were hating on Green Book. So I was like, I think that might win. And I have gone on record on this channel before saying that I don't hate Green Book. It's not a terrible movie. I enjoyed it well enough when I watched it that one and only time. But like, why it's ranked dead last here is that I don't think this film was worthy necessarily of even getting the Oscar nominations for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay. It is a little frustrating to me to this day because I just don't think it was strong enough to compete in Original Screenplay and Picture, and for it to win there in both categories, it doesn't feel right, even though I kind of understand why a lot of Academy voters went for this movie. It's kind of feel good. It's kind of like Driving Miss Daisy, dealing with racism, prejudice in a way that's very palatable for many audience members. I get it. But in Best Original Screenplay, you have The Favourite. You have Roma. Those were two of my absolute favorite films of 2018, and either one of them could have taken this. Hell, even First Reformed was nominated here for Paul Schrader. That would have been an amazing victory. That film is also fantastic. Vice is here. That didn't need to win. But like Green Book, I would absolutely have in 4th or 5th place here. It should not have won. I do not think that victory for Green Book in Original Screenplay has aged well at all. I would have given this prize to The Favourites.
They say if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I got a lot of people to thank.
Number 9, The King's Speech.
Your place may well be on the throne.
I'm not an alternative to my brother.
You can outshine David.
Don't take liberties! That's bordering on treason.
So here we have another kind of womp womp win in Original Screenplay, one that most people are probably not going to remember. The King's Speech, like Green Book, was the consensus choice of its year, 2010. The movie everybody liked, and so it ended up winning Best Director, Best Picture, and Original Screenplay. And like, you know, if this movie had only won Original Screenplay and then something better had taken Director Picture, I would have been okay with this victory because I really do enjoy The Speech from David Seidler. It opens with this great, amusing moment. He's very charming and amusing, so the speech itself is solid. But like the movie, The King's Speech, winning Best Original Screenplay over The Kids Are Alright, over Inception. I'm sorry, that is totally absurd that in this category, The King's Speech was able to take the gold trophy over Christopher Nolan's Inception, which is one of the most original screenplays of the 2010s, of the entire decade. I'm so happy Christopher Nolan has finally won himself a couple of Oscars for Oppenheimer, but I do think his first victory should have been in Original Screenplay for Inception. That would have aged extremely well. Like, that would have been one of the all-timer wins of the night. The King's Speech is fine, like Green Book. I watched it once. I enjoyed myself. But is anyone really thinking about The King's Speech today? Probably not. Like, it was definitely a movie of its time that everybody, like, wrapped their arms around. and then quickly let go, right? Like in the years that have passed, I think Inception is a film we were much more engaged with today. That should have won an original screenplay.
My father always said to me, I would be a late bloomer.
Number 8, Midnight in Paris.
If you're a writer, declare yourself the best writer. But you're not as long as I'm around, unless you want to put the gloves on and settle it.
No, I don't.
So, to be honest, this was the original screenplay Oscar win of the 2010s I had completely forgotten about. Last night, I thought, okay, I'm not going to look any of these wins up. Let's see if I can remember all of them in my head. And the other 9, I was able to get to very quickly. But 2011, I was sitting there for the longest time going through all the potential titles in my head, like what won original screenplay for 2011? It took me about 3 minutes. It was like 3 minutes, like going through all of the films. And then finally, I was like, oh, right, Woody Allen won for Midnight in Paris, which came out in the summer and was a big financial hit for Woody Allen. It might have been his biggest money maker ever. And like that was an entertaining movie, had a good cast, had a good concept. I don't really hate this win at all. I'm just like, I don't know, if Woody Allen is going to have 4 Oscar wins, Annie Hall in screenplay and director makes sense. Hannah and Her Sisters in screenplay makes sense. Those are 2 of his all-time great movies. I have nothing bad to say about those victories. But like, I would have preferred his final win in screenplay to be for like Husbands and Wives, or Deconstructing Harry, or what about Match Point? Match Point is fantastic. Midnight in Paris is a good movie. I don't know if it needed to necessarily win the Oscar in screenplay. I mean, we knew he wasn't going to show up. Woody Allen only went to the Oscars once, like to introduce a piece about New York City directed by Nora Ephron in early 2002 after 9/11. That was his only appearance. He never showed up to collect a gold trophy. I mean, I guess because the movie made so much money, and like at the time, especially, Woody Allen was still churning out movies year after year. Some were good or decent, some weren't so good. Midnight in Paris, I think for many critics and awards voters, felt like a return to form for him. So in that regard, the victory here makes sense. There's not another movie in the category that would have been a clear second place. I mean, you have The Artist in the category, but even though that won the Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director, you wouldn't look at that as like a screenplay victory. And then you have Bridesmaids and Margin Call and A Separation, and these are all excellent nominations, but none of those movies really had a chance to win. Midnight in Paris is the obvious choice here. It was in Best Picture. People really liked that film, but my vote here would absolutely go to Bridesmaids. That would have been such a cool victory. I adore that movie. I've seen it 10 or more times. It's so funny. It's such a witty script. I would have given my vote to Bridesmaids.
The Academy congratulates Woody Allen and accepts the Oscar on his behalf. Thank you.
Number 7, Birdman.
Don't put me on the spot, man. Don't make me feel self-conscious about my marriage while my wife is sitting
Right there.
right there.
Yeah.
Now, I could have ranked Birdman a little bit higher. I was thinking about number 5 or number 6. The reason I have it so low, first off, I look at that film as more an acting achievement, a directing achievement, a cinematography achievement than I do a writing one. I think most people would agree with that. And the second thing is, look at the other films in this category. Like, any one of those other choices would have made such an incredible winner. You have Boyhood, which was one of my top 5 films of 2014. I still wish that Richard Linklater had won Best Director that year. Like, I guess Birdman could have taken picture, even original screenplay, but Linklater was absolutely my choice for director. And then in original screenplay, you also have Foxcatcher, you have The Grand Budapest Hotel. Like, come on, and you have Nightcrawler. The one category that amazing film got in, Nightcrawler. Jake Gyllenhaal missing in Best Actor, I still think is one of the top 3 Oscar snubs in acting for the entire decade. He gives a landmark performance in that, so I'm happy at least the screenplay was recognized. Birdman is a very good film. It's filled with creativity and invention, and it's got some wonderful dialogue, some surprises in the narrative. That's not a terrible win here in original screenplay. I'm fine with it. But at the end of the day, my vote would have gone to something else to be sure. I would be close to picking Grand Budapest Hotel or Nightcrawler here, but I really wanted Richard Linklater to win something at the Oscars for Boyhood, and if it couldn't happen in director, why not original screenplay? I think looking back on that wonderful movie, if it could have won Best Original Screenplay along with Best Supporting Actress for Patricia Arquette, I think 2 victories for Boyhood would have made more sense than just the one for Arquette. So even though Birdman is a solid win here, some of you might have it a little bit higher, I have it at number 7. I would have preferred Boyhood taken Best Original Screenplay.
And the maestro of maestros, Mr. Michael Keaton. Woof. For making this film fly.
Number 6, Spotlight.
You knew there were others.
I think that's the bigger story.
The numbers clearly indicate that there were senior clergy involved.
So like Green Book and The King's Speech, Spotlight is one of those Oscar players of the 2010s I don't have too much of an opinion on these days. Like, I saw it once, I liked it, and I haven't really thought about it much since 2015. Like, again, that's the movie that everybody liked, so that's why it won, like, Best Picture over Mad Max Fury Road and some other movies that might have been worthier for the top prize. Same thing happened in original screenplay. I mean, Spotlight, if you can believe it, like, remember this, it only won 2 prizes. All it won that night was original screenplay and picture, and nothing else. Like, nothing in the technical categories, nothing in acting. I think that speaks to there not being a ton of enthusiasm for Spotlight, like, at the end of the day. And so, yeah, this win goes somewhere in the middle. It has its effective moments. That screenplay, that movie, it's not something anyone can say was really terrible. Spotlight is a perfectly good film. I could have ranked this a little higher, 5, maybe even 4. But here's the deal. My favorite film of 2015 is in this category, and it would have made one of my favorite Oscar wins of the 2010s, and that's Ex Machina. Ex Machina is one of the most beautifully creative and innovative movies of the decade. I think it's so cool that the Academy gave the film this nomination. I mean, I would have liked the movie to have gotten into director and picture, but like, I'll take what I can get. That it won Best Visual Effects. Like, that was one of the big stunners of the night. That was a fantastic victory. And then Ex Machina getting into original screenplay. I love some of these other nominees here, especially Inside Out and Straight Outta Compton. But I think the win in this category absolutely should have been Ex Machina over Spotlight. Again, like with some of the other titles I'm talking about in this video, it makes sense to me why Spotlight won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. But if, like, you want to talk about original screenplays, you want to talk about an artist doing something really bold and daring and inventive, that was Alex Garland for Ex Machina. That's the film that should have won in this category.
We made this film for all the journalists who have and continue to hold the powerful accountable, and for the survivors whose courage and will to overcome is really an inspiration at all.
Number 5, Django Unchained.
You really want me to shake your hand? I insist. If you insist.
So now with my top 5 choices in original screenplay, there's nothing I would necessarily swap out. Now I'm not going to be like, well, You know, Django Unchained was fine, but this movie could have won, that movie could have won. I'm not going to talk like that anymore because I am very happy with these 5 top wins in original screenplay at the Oscars. I am a lifelong Quentin Tarantino fan. I feel like he should have at least 3 wins by now. He should have a win in Best Director. It's weird that he only has the 2 in screenplay, first for Pulp Fiction and the second for Django Unchained. That was a really cool victory. I enjoyed his speech. I think that's a very entertaining movie with such great performances and direction and cinematography and writing. Like, Quentin Tarantino is such a dazzling screenwriter, it surprises me some of his projects that didn't even get nominated in this category. The Hateful Eight, for example, Kill Bill Volume 2, and then Jackie Brown would have been an adapted screenplay. But it is baffling to me to this day that Quentin Tarantino couldn't even get nominated for his screenplay to Jackie Brown. Like, hello, what the hell was the Academy smoking in early 1998 that couldn't happen? So thankfully he got in for Django Unchained and he won, and it was a really cool moment for any Tarantino fan to see him win his second Oscar, so well deserved. I mean, there's some other really good scripts here, like Zero Dark 30, and especially I would say Moonrise Kingdom. That's kind of an inspired Oscar nomination here. But Django Unchained winning this one, I'm perfectly fine with it.
The writing is just fantastic. This will be the writer's year, man. Thank you very much. I love this. I love the competition. You guys are all wonderful. Peace out.
Number 4, Manchester by the Sea.
I just want to tell you that I was wrong.
No. You understand, there's nothing there.
What a terrific film this is. Just one of the absolute standouts of 2016. It's so moving, so well acted. Kenneth Lonergan is such a gifted artist. It makes me very happy that he has an Academy Award. Like, he should have won an Oscar for You Can Count on Me. I think Margaret is an amazing movie. Even though there were all of those legal shenanigans, whatever it was, that prevented that movie from coming out for years, when I finally came around to watch it, I think in 2011, like, it's such a brilliant piece of work that anytime this guy brings out a new movie, it is a big event for any cinephile out there. And Manchester by the Sea, like, right after its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival, I was hearing amazing things about those performances, about the writing, and when I eventually saw it in a theater at the end of that year, I just fell in love with this movie. It's really something. It's so moving. It's so devastating. And that screenplay by Kenneth Lonergan is impeccable. I can't imagine too many people take issue with this Oscar win in original screenplay. I mean, you have some wonderful scripts here, like La La Land, Hell or High Water. You have The Lobster here. Like, The Lobster got into original screenplay. That's awesome. And you have 20th Century Women. Like, this is a fantastic category at the Oscars. All 5 of those screenplays are great. I would have been happy with any of them winning, but I think the victor here is pretty obvious. It makes sense why it's Manchester by the Sea, a movie that got into Best Picture, a movie that won Best Actor for Casey Affleck. Like, that was one of the most beloved films of 2016, and its win here in Best Original Screenplay for Kenneth Lonergan was well-deserved.
And a special thanks to my stepfather, Mike Porter, who's taken care of my mother for the last 5 years in a way that is an example to everyone.
Number 3, Her.
What I was trying to say.
I've always wanted to have a wife without the challenges of actually dealing with anything real. I'm glad that you found someone. It's perfect.
Now, you know who else I'm very happy has won an Academy Award? Spike Jonze. Like, the amazing Spike Jonze, who's so gifted as a director, as a screenwriter, as an actor sometimes. Like, he has done such great work throughout the years, like being John Malkovich and adaptation as a director. Where the Wild Things Are, I have some issues with, but I know that movie has a big fan base. And then what he did with Her was pretty remarkable. As both a director and a screenwriter, he did both for Her from 2013. That is such a striking film, like a look into our near future. Maybe it's closer than we realize now. And it's a screenplay that could have gone off the rails. Like if Spike Jonze hadn't found the right tone to that piece. Like if he had gone too much in the direction of like science fiction antics, if it had ever stepped away from being about character and more about plots, I do think Her wouldn't have been the magical movie it is. But Spike Jonze was able to rein that material in, make it very personal, make it relatable for the audience. He has that remarkable cast in Joaquin Phoenix and Amy Adams and Rooney Mara, and Scarlett Johansson as the voice of Samantha is just incredible. I do think Scarlett Johansson's participation in that movie also helped in so many ways. It's just a beautiful movie, so well told, an all-timer ending. I'm so happy that the audience gave Spike Jonze a standing ovation, winning in Best Original Screenplay. That was awesome. For me, it was the obvious choice to win here. I mean, the only other film in this category, like, I maybe could have flirted with winning was Nebraska. But even that one, I'm like, that is a distant second place. The winner here for Best Original Screenplay 2013 always was going to be Her.
We made a movie about relationships and intimacy, and that's what we share together. And so this is for all of us up here, and thank you guys for this.
Number 2, Get Out.
Hey. Yo, my man. They were asking me about the African-American experience. Maybe you could take this one.
Oh my god, do I adore this win for Jordan Peele. This is one of my favorite Oscar wins of the 2010s. It's so great, as I talked about in a recent video I made with Cody Derricks, all about Get Out at the Oscars. Like, we talked in detail about this Best Original Screenplay victory for Peele, and it's just so unusual for a genre film to win in this category. Like, for that to win over Lady Bird, over 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Like, that took some guts to pick a horror film to win the Oscar for original screenplay. It's so awesome. I think Get Out was one of those lightning in a bottle moments. A movie everybody could embrace, even if they weren't big fans of the horror genre, if they didn't like blood and guts on the screen. Like, everybody could recognize in 2017 just how original Get Out was. It was unlike any other genre movie ever made in a way. It had such a distinct voice by the screenwriter Jordan Peele. Like, what he brought to that project seemed very personal, and the Academy easily could have said, "We'll give you the nomination, Jordan Peele. We're not going to give you the win." But you know what? They did something really freaking awesome and gave him the win as he deserved. I've said before, I would have also loved Greta Gerwig to have won here for Lady Bird. That was my favorite film of 2017. It doesn't feel right that she didn't win a single Oscar for that movie. That would have been really great too. But like, how can you possibly deny Jordan Peele, Get Out, Best Original Screenplay? That is an all-timer victory.
I stopped writing this movie about 20 times because I thought it was impossible. I thought it wasn't going to work. I thought no one would ever make this movie.
However, shockingly enough, I don't think Get Out is the number 1 best win in this category of the 2010s. There's one other movie I would rank slightly higher. I do think this film is one of the best we've ever had of the last 10, 20, 30 years. This movie is a masterpiece in every way, on every level. My number 1 choice for the best Oscar win of the 2010s in original screenplay is Parasite. So this movie is very fresh in my mind because I just watched it again a few days ago. For my 40th birthday, I was like picking out a few films I hadn't seen in a while I wanted to revisit. One was The Evil Dead, one was Sunset Boulevard, my favorite film, and another was Parasite, which I got the Criterion disc for a few years ago, watched it the one time, and then put it back on the shelf. I was like, I kind of want to watch Parasite again. Go through that incredible, blissful journey that movie takes you on. It is such a wild ride of a narrative. Like every 10 minutes, that screenplay surprises you. It makes you laugh. It fills you with emotion for this family. It makes you wonder, like, what would I do in their position? How would I attack this very dangerous game they're playing? The creative medley of genres in Parasite, how some of it's like a quiet drama, other parts of it is like a borderline horror film. Like that last 10 to 20 minutes, it's just like where that story goes is always so exciting. It's so well done in every respect. I love everything about Parasite, from the performances to the direction to the production design, that cinematography, editing, score. Like, I'm gonna have more to say about Parasite when we get to the ranking videos of the 2010s for both director and picture. You're going to see Parasite do very well in those upcoming videos. I thought about maybe putting Parasite #2 in original screenplay and giving Get Out #1. Like, I flirted with doing that. They are very close, but what tipped Parasite over to #1 for me is that the year of Get Out, I could have seen Lady Bird win in Best Original Screenplay instead, and I would have been happy with that. Whereas the year of Parasite, really only one screenplay comes close, and that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino. I guess that would have been a decent win. But like, over Parasite? No, not really. I think far and away, Parasite was the best screenplay in that category. It was the best film of 2019, and easily one of the best movies of the decade. I'm still so happy to this day that Parasite overperformed at the Oscars. Not only won International Feature and Original Screenplay like we were expecting, but also won Best Director for Bong Joon-ho, Best Picture of the Year. It's so freaking awesome. That is one of the best things the Academy has done in the last 10 years easily. And so yeah, if I had to pick the #1 Best Original Screenplay Oscar win of the 2010s, I don't have to think too hard about that one. It's Parasite.
Writing a script is always such a lonely process. We never write to represent our countries.
But this is very first Oscar to South Korea. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what are your choices in your ranking of Best Original Screenplay of the 2010s at the Oscars, and I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.